guys, and welcome back to another video. So as you can see, I am still at home. I'm not sure how long I will be here for. Basically, my uni situation is just, it's not going very well. I have no idea whether I'm going to be at King's online, whether I'm actually going to be able to move to London, whether I'm not. Like, the whole thing is stressing me out. I kind of wanted to make this video because I feel like I've thought about it a lot, thinking about whether to do it online, whether to have a year out. So I wanted to sort of offer my advice and offer my thoughts on those two sort of options, because I know that's a decision a lot of you guys are facing right now, especially with, you know, Corona and COVID, everything sort of with university, and it's just all gone up in the air a bit. So I kind of wanted to offer my advice and thoughts, and hopefully it will help. So for this video, I'm gonna sort of give you the pros and cons of going online, and then the pros and cons of having a year out, and then basically end off with why my current predicament with my university is just not going well and where I'm at. So on with the video, I suppose. So firstly, online university, the pros of it. So I think, spoken like a true great student here, one of the pros is that you won't have to go to lectures because hopefully they'll all be recorded, which I think is a pro. I know a lot of people might like lectures, but I personally find them very difficult to concentrate in for a period of time. I remember my first year of university, we would have about 4 hours of lectures back to back, and I just found that extremely draining. And I also find it really hard to concentrate with like 200 people in the same room. I'd much prefer them to be recorded so I can watch them at leisure. I can pause it, Google bits if I'm not like following, and I can take notes at leisure too. So I much prefer lectures being online and being recorded. So for me, I think that's one of the great pros about online university. So secondly, you have a more comfortable working environment. Providing your lecturers aren't picky about like where you do your Zoom calls or whatever, then you kind of have a much better working environment. I much prefer sitting like in my room or at my desk doing work than having to like go into uni and sit in a seminar room, again just because I find like it's not conducive to my learning when I have like 30-40 people in the same room like fidgeting and twitching, and the rooms were always cold. And I much prefer being at home. I get more done at home. So if you're like me, then you know a true pro of online university is having a comfortable, familiar working environment. You know, you can go to the fridge whenever you want, you can get food whenever you want. It saves a lot of time, because if you were at university you'd have to like go eat out or like buy food or like go somewhere to sit and eat your lunch, where you can just sort of like work and eat lunch and things like that if you're at home. And then the other positives sort of revolve around time. So one of the main pros is that you don't have to get ready, you don't have to get up at a certain time to like go to classes or go to a lecture if they're all recorded in advance. You can just sort of do it whenever. You can make your own schedule and, you know, work at the optimum times for you. And I think that really helps with like my mental health and my organisation. I much prefer kind of that. And also, like, you don't have to get ready. You can sit there like I am today in like my sweatpants. Like, you don't have to bother getting hair and makeup and stuff if you don't want to, which I think is a really good pro, because it just saves time. Like, all the time I'd be getting ready in the morning, I'm just not doing it anymore. And off kind of the same thread of that, it's travel time. Like, when I was back in New York doing my undergrad, I normally would have to walk 15 minutes each way to university. So if I had like split classes, I probably would spend about an hour a day just like walking to and from university, whereas if I'm at home I save that hour. So, you know, time management wise, I think it's really easy to kind of have a lot more time when you're doing it online. So really they are my main positives, but there are also cons. Cons, firstly, and I think it's the biggest one on all of our minds, is that you're paying a lot of money. Like me with my master's, like 10 grand. Normally at university it's like 9,250 for Zoom. Like, it's just not the same, and it really isn't. It only really works well if you have really good lecturers, and they are hard to come by. Paying that much money for Zoom can sometimes just feel really unjustified, and I think that's something that kind of looms over my mind for sure, because I sit there and I just think, do I really want to pay all this money for effectively YouTube? Like, no. Going off that, it's also hard to get your lecturer's attention and things like that, especially if you're in a big group call. A lot of the time you have to have a tech savvy lecturer, and rarely they are, and you know, they're not sort of like on it as if they would be if you can just put your hand up in the class and explain things. And equally through Zoom, sometimes I think it's harder for lecturers to explain things as if they would in class. And also just generally for emails and things like that, if you don't understand something and you want to contact your lecturer, it's much harder online because you've got to like email them, and if they're not good with their emails, and that's like more stress, whereas normally you could just like rock up to their office hours or like collar them in your department and kind of get your answer that way. So I do think that you need to have really good lecturers that are really good on communication in order for online university to work. Also, going off that, like having it online and on Zoom, like you miss out on all the practical elements. So I studied law, and you know, we had this class once a week that was like legal skills. We basically did all the practical elements of law, and I think if you're doing that online, you kind of are really missing out on talking in front of people and having that mock scenario of a true client in the same room, and the nerves that you get along with that and learn how to battle them, or going in front of a like fake judge. All those things that I did on my course, if that was online, I do think you miss out on a lot of confidence building and a lot of skills that you would have developed, because it's not the same over a webcam. So I do think that's a shame, like to miss out on all those things. Luckily for me with my masters, I don't really think there is anything that's practical, so that doesn't necessarily apply to me, but for other people it might, and I think that's something worth noting. And I think finally, one of the big things, the big negatives about online university is that you like miss out on all of the resources. So you're not on campus, you're missing out on that experience. Like you're not going to get the library unless you have an online library, but normally they're not as good as the actual library, and you just don't have the same facilities, even stuff like printing and, you know, quiet study spaces if you can't work at home due to your like family situation. All those things you will miss out on if you do it online, which I do think is a big shame. And I do think a lot of the university experience is actually being on campus and mixing with other students and like speaking face to face with your lecturers and things like that. That is what we're paying for, and by doing it online you do miss out on all of that. And also going off that, by doing it online you really need to like adapt your personality and adapt your working sort of ways, because you do need to be a lot more disciplined and you do need to be a lot more focused and have good time management skills. And if you find that difficult and you'd much prefer having the structure and the routine of classes at these times and you have to physically go to them places, then like online university is probably going to be hard. But at the same time, I guess you do grow a lot more as a person by developing those skills by doing it online. So yeah, I do think it's a double-edged sword at the moment, and I think if you don't want to do it online and that's all that your university is providing, realistically the only alternative you have is having a year out. So I kind of want to discuss the pros and cons of having a year out. So in my opinion, the pros of reapplying or having a year out is that right now you might be going to university that maybe wasn't your first choice, or you did better on your A levels but you're going to a different university, and having a year out and reapplying gives you an opportunity to like reapply to different universities and go somewhere that you're really set on. Also gives you an opportunity in a year's time, hopefully corona will not still be a thing, that you can, you know, actually have the university experience. You can actually do freshers, you can have everything as normal. And even if you're doing a master's like me, like a year doesn't really make a difference. You can just work for a year, save up some money. Like in the scheme of things, it doesn't matter. I was almost tempted to have a year out, but it's only because I paid a deposit that was non-refundable, that I couldn't have a year out or I couldn't defer it. Otherwise I would have seriously considered doing that. And also I guess you just know what you're getting more, because when you go in another year, corona won't be a thing and you'll be getting the legit uni experience, which is what you're paying for. Like you know exactly what to expect and what you're getting, whereas I think there's so much uncertainty at the moment surrounding like, or what is actually even happening. Like me, I actually don't know what's happening for my course, and I start in like 3 weeks. So it's kind of stressful to think that I'm starting so soon at a new university doing a new course and I have no idea about what's the teaching is even going to be like and in what format it's going to be in. So if you do apply in a year, you basically remove all of that. But then there are cons if you apply in another year. So there might still be COVID in a year. I really hope there isn't, but like who knows, because it's been what, like 6, 7, 8 months at the moment and it's just still dragging on, and people talking about second waves. Like no idea where we'll be in a year. This social distancing thing could just be the new normal, like who knows? So you could have a year out and in a year's time be in the same position, so you don't know. Secondly, if you're already at university and you just want to like take a year out and come back, you're not going to be graduating with the same group of people, you won't be with the same friendship group, which it seems like a big thing and it is definitely a con, because all of your familiar people are just not there and your support group. But at the same time, in the scheme of things, I don't think that should be a make or break. And also that you need to find plans for the year. So jobs are scarce right now. Like if you can get work experience for a year or do an internship for a year, great. It almost makes it worth it, having a year out, having a gap year or whatever. But if you can't do that and you're like sitting at home watching soaps on the sofa, then I really don't think a year out is going to be beneficial. So if you are going to have a year out, just like have a really good backup plan to make sure that you're still growing and developing as a person in that year. So basically that's all my advice for whether to go online at university or just take a year out and reapply. At the moment, I don't really know what I can do because I can't have a year out because, as I said, I've already paid my deposit and it's non-refundable, so I'm not really about to lose like hundreds of pounds right now just to have a year out and reapply. That would be awful. But in terms of going online, as I said, like King's haven't really said to me like what's happening. I have no idea whether I'm going to be going online for the full term, for the full year, what's going to be online, is there going to be lectures, is it going to be seminars, if it is going to be seminars, am I going to go in person for them, are they going to be limited groups, I have literally no idea, are the libraries going to be open, I do not know, so it's kind of a little bit frustrating because like I haven't heard anything and I also don't know what to do. And on my housing situation, if anyone knows about a flat, central London, hit me up because it's just difficult at the moment to find somewhere that I like. All the places that I've been like, yeah, happy to sign that contract have just like fell through or they've been took off the market or someone else has been for them. Some of the places that I've looked at, I've had 40 people looking at it and putting in offers for the flat. So it's just kind of like stressful as well, especially being a student on a limited budget. A lot of places don't even want students. A lot of people are putting the rent up because they know, you know, people are desperate for accommodation, especially with COVID and things. People need more money. Like I do get all of that, but it's just a bit stressful. So yeah, at the moment, as I said, I start in a few weeks. I still have nowhere to live. So I guess I'm in that limbo period of, I think if King's let me, I will probably have to go online until I find a place, whenever that will be. But I don't know if King's is going to let me do that. I don't know whether I'm going to have to commute because I'm only in 2 days a week and it's about an hour and a half, 2 hours maybe door to door from where I live now to London. So like I have commuted before. In my first year of sixth form, I commuted for the whole year, 4 days a week. Don't know why. I honestly did that, worst decision ever. But like it's doable, even though it's 8 hours of travel a week to do it 2 days a week. It's kind of worth it because I'm saving on rent and I don't want to just settle for a flat and have to pay like some of these flats like 800-900 a month, and I don't really want to have to pay that for somewhere that's a dive. So if you have any thoughts on my predicament, please let me know. Maybe you've thought of something that I haven't thought of, because at the moment that's what I feel like my options are, and I'm a bit stressed about it being in this weird limbo place. So yeah, let me know in the comments, please. I feel like I'm always giving you guys advice, but I really need some of my own right now. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you liked it and I will see you in the next one. I'll see you on Saturday. Bye guys.